Well, that brings the morning in the stadium to a close, but you don't go anywhere because the women's marathon is about to start. We've had the men's marathon already, and Tower Bridge, wonderful backdrop for the start and the finish for both races. So let's go through the start list for the women's race. Eunice Kiwa, she'll be one of the favourites, former Kenyan, now running for Bahrain. Nobody on that page I wouldn't think will get up there. We just have to go through them. But there you see the name of Mare Dibaba, one of the pre-race favourites, although she dropped out of London this year. And Demise, one of her young teammates, certainly could figure. Tracy Barlow, Ali Dixon and Charlotte Purdue going for Great Britain. Tola, another Ethiopian, now running for Germany. Very good Japanese team, as ever, hoping they can go well here. And then the Kenyan contingent. Their main hopes may well lie with the veteran, Edna Kiplagat, 37 Edna Kiplagat now, but still running very well indeed. Hella Kiprop, she'll be looking for a big performance as well. Conditions just been warming up a little bit. Catarina Ribeiro, there's a famous Portuguese name. Ramadani, that's a good Tanzanian marathon name as well, isn't it? Was it the 2006 he ran well? Sam Ramadani, wasn't it, in the Commonwealth Games? Yeah. Amy Cragg, best perhaps of the American contingent here. So big field, and one which I'm sure many of them will be would have watched with interest or seen the results of the men's race. I wonder what the British women were thinking when they saw Callum Hawkins coming in 4th place. Ali Dixon and Charlotte Purdue, Tracy Barlow. Of course, London was the trial for these World Championships. Ali finished not too far ahead of Charlie Purdue. Well, here's Mare Dibaba. With a marathon personal best of 2 hours, 20 minutes and 36 seconds. Great championship record for Dibaba, and carries the famous Ethiopian name. The defending champion, just with a little bit of a doubt over her fitness coming into this. But again, we shall see very, very shortly indeed. This is Rose Chilimo, was 8th in Rio, 2nd in Boston this year. The 2011 and 2013 IAAF World Marathon Champion. On 2 occasions she's won this world title, defended her title in Moscow after having won it in Daegu in contrasting conditions. In between, she's finished in the top 3 and 3 times in London. Great experience, and as I said, 37, but still going very well indeed. So Hella Kiprop just pipped to the gold medal by Mare Dibaba in Beijing in 2015. Silver medal by 1 second on that occasion. Eunice Kiwa, former Kenyan, finished behind Sumgong in Rio. Sumgong, of course, consequently failing a drugs test, so Sumgong won the title on that occasion. But Kiwa will know, as all of the athletes here will know, that Mare Dibaba will be a formidable competitor here. So those just some of the main contenders for this Women's World Championship Marathon. Around about 20 degrees, maybe 21, still creeping up a little bit. A little bit of a breeze, but wonderful day for spectating, as Brendan was saying earlier on. I saw a few of the men struggling a little bit. Not exactly difficult summer conditions. It could have been so much worse. Could have been an awful lot hotter at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were some eyebrows raised, I know, when the timetable was set for these marathon races, that the women were given the heat of the afternoon, perhaps to run in the first week in August. Well, thankfully, we've got kind of September weather.
It could have been the very heat of the afternoon, Steve. You look at the weather a couple of weeks ago, it was extremely warm, 30 degrees here in London. And what a splendid setting as we set off there from Tower Bridge. They'll wind their way along the embankment, then a little drift through the city, past St. Paul's Cathedral, and eventually running up and down the embankment. 10-kilometre loop, apparently, so approximately. And that 10-kilometre loop means that these spectators who've come out here can watch the drama of the marathon unfold, as they will pass them on 8 occasions, if you're in a good position there on the embankment, as they leave Tower Bridge with the Tower of London. I was just talking to my granddaughter. She was visiting the Tower of London, Paula, with her mum and her grandmother the other day, and she was telling me about the crown jewels, how impressive they are.
My daughter also visited that and told me about how the Queen keeps all her jewellery there, you know, and there's even men that are there to look after it for you. But she did say, I was told that there would be lots of little dogs outside. I didn't see any of those. It was actually meant to be puppies.
And my granddaughter told me that that was where Anne Boleyn was beheaded.
Well, I'm going to trump the two of you. My daughter's got the proper jewels today. She's working on the medal ceremony, and that's what everybody wants. That's the treasure. And that's been given out on the moat at the Tower at the end of grueling 26 miles. If you weren't with us earlier on, then it's 4 laps of just over 10 kilometers. The Tower Bridge start is where we come back to for the finish, but that's the only time they will go back to the bridge, when they have completed the 4 laps. The laps primarily along the embankment and into the city just around St. Paul's. They go up through Paternoster Square around St. Paul's, in front of the Guildhall and Bank of England, through that area, and then drop back onto the embankment here. So our early leader, a little bit impetuous, is Ribeiro of Portugal. There's a name we would have conjured up some memories, but not Fernando Ribeiro. The rest happy to let her take the early lead and just sit in the group, as I suspect they will do for quite a while. Ali Dixon well to the fore already, I can see. The Sunderland stroller.
That was earlier than
No,
usual.
I know, I felt the nudge, and I was going to say something, but I'm on such weak ground around the whole Sunderland thing that I'll take all the hits you've got.
A very early mention of Sunderland strollers, but the British team, Tracy Barlow from Thames Valley, Ali Dixon from Sunderland strollers, and Charlotte Purdue from Aldershot Farnham and District, famous distance running club. And Charlotte, first major championship at a marathon, and it'll be interesting to see how she runs.
Yeah, we saw Charlie the other day at the team hotel, looked very perky and really looking forward to it. I think mum and dad were with her, and she's been, like the rest of this very good endurance contingent, been in Font-Romeu, and Ali Dixon's been up there. Not everybody went to Font-Romeu, but it was offered to everybody as part of the altitude program that's been ongoing for so many years, supported as well by the London Marathon. A lot of the endurance group, they're not all on lottery funding, but they are supported. The vast majority of them have received some sort of support in terms of their preparation. I think about 90% of the endurance team who are here.
Yeah, I think about that high. There were 17 members of the endurance team in Font-Romeu, and the bulk of those have probably been supported actually by the London Marathon. Spent a fair bit of time setting up training situations in camps in Iten, Kenya, and also in Font-Romeu, just to allow the athletes to be able to go away, focus on training. The camp's gone really well. The support's been really good there. The atmosphere amongst the other athletes have really encouraged each other, and I think we're going to see Tom Bosworth next week come out in the walks, and he's very much slotted into that endurance setup there. I know there's a lot of banter goes on amongst the guys, but I think they're all looking forward to seeing Tom walk well, and to seeing the girls. They'll all have been buoyed already by the run of Callum Hawkins early on this morning, as I'm sure the girls will have done here. They will have been just completing their warm-up, getting ready to go into call room when Callum was fighting his way back up into that magnificent 4th place. And I've just had a look back at the splits for the last 2.2 kilometres of that men's race, and excuse me, of the top 8 positions, Callum finished the fastest. He finished the fastest over the last 2.2k, much faster, well, 1 second faster than the winner even.
Well, I know you two went off for a little bit of lunch, which is a luxury I wasn't afforded.
but Callum in his interview, I know you brought me a sandwich back, thank you. In his interview, said that he may have misjudged it. He said that, you know, I was running so strongly at the end. He was delighted with his 4th position, and so he should be. But you could sense there was just a little sense of frustration. He said, in the end, I could see them. I could see both medals not that far ahead of me. But, you know, he can't, I don't think he can really, you know, he ran the race, the best race he could. He wasn't to know that the others would come back. You've got to run your race. If they come back to you, brilliant. But he couldn't plan that he was going to run people down in the latter stages. But if he'd run as hard in that middle part, where the damage was done, and Tola really suffered from that as well, he may not have been able to last the distance. So I think you've got to look at Callum Hawkins. 9th in the Olympic Games last year, his first major championship at the marathon, 4th in the World Championships this year. He's now already looking forward to a future at the marathon. We now know that Mohamed Farah, the great Sir Mo Farah, is going to have a little dabble at the marathon. And Callum, and his response, you can imagine, and Steve mentioned earlier that his response was very positive. He's looking forward to Mo Farah coming to the marathon, and the marathon runners would do that. They'd say, okay, bring it on, let's have the race. And there's nothing that Callum Hawkins is going to be worried about anybody running the marathon. But if he runs against Mo, what a great race that should be.
I think I'm just excited to see what he's capable of, more than him racing against Mo and there being billed this great British race. It's more, what is Callum Hawkins capable of? Where can he go? Because his potential for growth over the marathon distance, I think, is probably greater than that of Mo, because Mo has come in and already run in that kind of 2:8 range, and yes, he can go a little bit quicker, but Callum has got a bigger margin for improvement. He's younger. He's got more of a career ahead of him instead of coming at the tail end of his career into the marathon.
But he's got Commonwealth Games potential next year, European Championships potential next year at the marathon. He's got World Championships in Doha, be a bit hot.
I think, Brendan, he said Commonwealth Games definitely, but then it may be Tokyo after that in terms of a major championships. But there are choices in between. Scotland calls Commonwealth Games, you know, and they've got so many good endurance runners. The British team here is full of great Scots. So Laura Muir yesterday, of course, has made the final in the 1500 metres already. We've got Lindsay Sharp going in the women's 800 metres. We've got Annie Butchart. We've got Jake Whiteman. We've got Chris O'Hare. We've got Josh Kerr. And so it goes on.
But people should be asking the question, you know, Steve, why are they doing so well? What is it that they've done in the last few years in Scotland to produce such a powerful bunch of athletes, including some of our best distance runners? I mean, it's great that that's happened, but the England side of the board should be saying, hang on, we normally have a bunch of distance runners from England. Well, of course, Mo Farah representing Great Britain and occasionally has run for England, but overall Scotland have done extremely well in the last couple of years, really.
I think we happen to live a bit closer there. My son used to go to school there, and there was a little period where they were up. I think Beth Potter was in that group as well. They all grew up together, you know, and they raced each other quite a lot. Jake, I certainly know there. Chris O'Hare, Derek Hawkins and Callum Hawkins, and there were others in there as well. They all kind of came through at the same time. And you're right, I'm not sure there was a Scottish policy, but there was definitely a culture which allowed them to do that. And Edna Kiplagat won that London Marathon, as Brendan was saying, in 2014. Finished second in 2012. There's Hella Kiprop. And then another one we haven't mentioned wearing is Danielle or Philomena Cejic, maybe more familiar, won the Commonwealth title in Glasgow. I was looking at that a minute ago. I was trying to think, what was the weather like that day? I can't remember now. Because didn't we have one of the marathons, it rained a lot. But I think that was the men's.
I think it was the men's.
Yeah.
I think it was the men's. I think she won. Did she not win? She won from Jessica Trengrove, who was also in there running well so far today. But I think it was not too dissimilar to today, actually. Pretty reasonable conditions for marathon running.
And we saw the flags of all the nations there. The athletes' drinks are organised. 150 volunteers here today organising that particular part. where they see the flag, and next to the flag the team bring along the drinks, put the drinks in the right place, put them in the right order, because the important part is replenishment, and as the race goes on, athletes seek their own particular concoctions of electrolyte replacement and energy providing drinks. Look at those all working smoothly there as the athletes move to the left hand side, took their drinks, and you can see them drinking them conscientiously. They learn and practice doing this because this is very, very important. I remember Haile Gebrselassie in his first ever marathon didn't bother with the drinks. He paid the price in the later stages and eventually learned how to drink when he was running, and eventually broke the marathon world record, as he'd done for all the other distances on the track. And there the athlete that Paula was referring to, Kyoto, running with a strange arm action, but if it gets you around, that's the way to do it.
Oh, we're talking actions. I was looking earlier on at one of the Tanzanian women, Shauri. Did you see the really extravagant forward lean? She was in the group earlier on, and, you know, and she's a 2:32, 2:33 marathon runner, which is world level. And you think, how on earth did you get to run, you know, to get to this point in your career with an exaggerated kind of lean? I mean, everyone's different, and, you know, marathon runners in particular, there can be all sorts of styles. But yes, it's amazing, isn't it? You go to any basic running group session where there was any low level of coaching, and they'll talk about how to carry your arms and how to carry yourself, and then they probably tune into something like this and go, oh, look at her. Or him.
I think that's the thing. I think your body, within reason, will find the most natural and most efficient way for you to run. And yes, that will change and vary from person to person. And yes, in certain cases, they maybe will run maybe even a little bit more efficient at the time, but increase the injury risk and the toll on their body later on. Certainly if you've got a big forward lean, then that's got to affect your efficiency and maybe predispose you to more injuries later on. But it may have been the way that she just naturally started running, and sometimes to change that style, I know I've had enough criticism about my style over the time, and sometimes the effort and the energy needed to expend to work on it and to try and change that, it's not worth it. You're not going to gain more than you're going to lose by the time and the work that would need to go into it. That's a pretty sizable lead now that Ali Dixon has built up at the front. The main group have allowed her to work away again. I hope she's not getting too carried away. It's very hard to tell when we're only getting splits every 5 kilometres. She looks comfortable and she looks relaxed, but when you're out there on the streets of London with the support that she's surely getting out there, sometimes that might just get you a little bit too carried away in the early stages. But she looks composed now.
Well, you and I know Ali really well, and the one thing Ali can't do is kind of speed up and suddenly. So if she's thinking, I want to come here and try and run a personal best, they've set off at 2:30 pace, so she's got to start running quicker earlier. She's not going to be able to pick up at halfway and suddenly do massive negative splits. That's not the way she can run. So she'd probably hope that some more people came with her at this point. I don't think this is her saying, I want to go out there in the front. I think this is her just saying, I don't know when my next major, if I'm going to represent Great Britain again, I want to represent my country as best as I can. I want to maybe run a personal best wearing the British vest in a major championships, and that's as much as any athlete can do, and this is her challenge to do that. And I think she's probably going to be a little bit surprised that nobody's going with her. She's not going that hard, so we'll see how long it lasts. We know it's not a gold medal, you know, surge that she's putting in. She's not sort of getting ahead of herself in the sense of that. I think this is just her saying, this is how I'm comfortable running, this is the shape I'm in, this is how I want to go and perform. If you don't come with me, I'll see you later. I know you're going to be coming at some point.
The other point worth mentioning, though, is as she gets into certain parts of this course, she may actually be able to get away from the pack, in the sense that the pack do not know that she's gone ahead. If she gets out of eye line and out of sight of the runners closing behind her or in that main pack, they will be looking at each other. They'll be counting who's there. They'll be seeing that the main people are there. We don't need to make a move yet, and they may forget that there's somebody gone ahead at the front, because there's now 2 of them as well. So there's one girl, and then ahead of her is Ali. So if she can get into that twisty section, she might actually be able to build up a cushion.
And Ali always likes to go out a bit quicker, doesn't she? I mean, I think I remember in Berlin, before she set a PB more recently, that she was on sort of 2:27, 2:28 pace and then just sort of the last 10k or so fell off that. Similarly in London this year, you know, it was a better judged race, much better judged race, because it was make sure you get selected as well, wasn't it? But look, you know, anybody who comes to a championships wants to run as quick as you can. The marathon, at least you can affect that. It just makes it a lonely run. She wouldn't normally be in a situation like this. I mean, she runs road races, countless road races on her own, because that's how good she is. She has to run 10Ks and 5Ks and half marathons against other women, particularly when she's back home in the northeast. She'll be used to this, but not in a big championship marathon. Getting plenty of support though.
She is, and she's trying to make the most of that. I saw her raising her arms and trying to encourage the crowd to get behind her and to support her. What she has done as well is wait for the first lap, so she's given herself a chance. So she will have studied the course. I hope she studied the course, and she knows exactly where the loop goes, but she gave herself a chance by running the first loop just to learn just exactly how steep those hills, because you can look at it and you can look on the gradient, but it's actually running over it for the first time that gives you the most information. So she's done that in the pack, and then she's decided, right, okay, now I feel like I can push on in this second lap, absolutely not leave it down to a burn up over the last 10k or a gradual wind up, but it's still going much faster over the last 10k of the marathon, which you're absolutely right, she wouldn't be able to react and to stay with the lead pack. Well, in that situation she's far better, making it an even run for her.
Edna Kiplagat closest to the camera in the red of Kenya. Charlie Purdue getting some cheers from the British contingent out there as well. She's in that group. Not too far off 15 kilometers. Another couple of minutes of running. There's Ali Dixon. That lead she's got continues to increase. I still suggest, I think what we're all seeing here is it's more that she's running at a sort of sensible pace at 2:30, maybe it's a tad inside that. This may well be a slightly quicker 5k. It's just that the pack are all looking at each other, the big names in terms of medal contention, the Kenyans, the Ethiopians. Happy with this early pace, happy with a slow pace, and they may well wait until the end of this lap before they get moving. Wait until halfway. And then we'll have a super fast second half from them, I'm pretty sure.
You can bet that, Steve. 9 seconds ahead of Lim of Korea. Trying to encourage the crowd to support her. Well, the marathon, you just have to pour it on. You don't need the reaction from the crowd that you do when you run a shorter distance. And she's getting good support. It's going to make her feel good. And there, the chaser, and then the group. And you're going to be looking into that group. On the outside of that group, I can see Edna Kiplagat. I can see the Ethiopian contingent as the athletes continue on the second lap along the Victoria Embankment, heading towards Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. Having very good support on the side of the roads. Different phenomenon that we normally see at this point in the London Marathon. We see the great runners, and then we see the rhinos and Rupert Bears and fancy dress and all kinds of things. Today it's serious distance running. The charity runners are waiting until springtime in London. Record number of applications for next year's London Marathon. Ali Dixon, well, she may run London, but she may run the Commonwealth Games, and that's a little bit of a clash next year for these marathon runners. And now the pack starting to gather up a little bit of speed, starting to gather up a little bit of momentum together. And you can bet your bottom dollar that shot there contains the winner, the runner-up, and the bronze medalist from this competition.
Yeah, I think they're just starting to get moving on in that group. That won't be a bad thing for Ali, you know, because if they catch her sooner rather than later at a reasonable pace, not kind of come flying past her, that'll be better. And then she can maybe slot into that group, and then that group will whittle down gradually.
Paula's talked before about in a marathon how your mood changes. Sometimes you're feeling really good, and then suddenly you're not so feeling, and then it comes back again. Can you just explain a little of that, Paula?
Yeah, I think you just have to go into any marathon fully accepting that there are going to be ups and downs within that marathon, that every runner, no matter how good, no matter if you're breaking through the 2 hours or if you're trying to break through 5 hours, you are undoubtedly going to go through at least one bad patch during the marathon. And in that time, you just have to focus on what you've done in the past to get through those, the fact that you've done all the training, all of the preparation, where you went to in your mind to get yourself through those hard points in training, and then to go to that place in the race and be able to keep your focus. And I think if you go in with that acceptance, is it 5? No, it's not the 15k marker just yet, but it must be coming up around them. But if you go to that place in your mind where you can just fully focus on your race, accepting that you're going to hit those difficult points, but also you're going to come out of the other side of it and you're going to feel okay, and have your own different coping techniques to use. And for me, I know you were joking earlier about me counting lampposts. I didn't count lampposts. I just counted in my head. I did have a telephone box at a mile to go in the London Marathon, which is somewhere along the embankment there.
Is that where you changed into your Superwoman outfit?
That was where I knew it was a mile to go, 1,200 metres from Big Ben, and just broke it down into manageable sections in your mind and within the race.
But I know that you talk to serious international professional marathon runners, as well as you do often to ordinary runners who are just trying the marathon. And you give that same advice, do you, to ordinary runners as well as super international runners?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the great thing about the marathon, is the marathon's the marathon, and it's unique and it's special, and it brings together all those people. So on any given day, whatever pace you run the marathon, that is a slightly quicker 5k segment for Ali at 17:36, but whatever pace you run the marathon, you're still running a marathon, and you're still all going through the emotions and the physical demands of running 26.2 miles, and they're largely the same, particularly in the mind. And you could argue also that for the recreational runners that are taking a little bit longer to get around the marathon course, it's actually harder psychologically, because you've got to keep focused, you've got to keep your body fueled over a longer period of time. But for any runner, your human body only stores enough fuel to get to 20 miles in the marathon, around about 30k, and then after that you're either eating up your own stores or using whatever glycogen you've been able to get on board and load before the race and take on board during the race. And that's why it's so important that they have the feed stations, that they get their bottles at those 5k feed stations, and particularly early on, just take enough of those drinks and carbohydrate drinks or gels as they can to keep themselves topped up.
Really wise words from the world record holder for the marathon, and I'm sure runners of this caliber, of the Ali Dixon caliber, who I know listens to your advice, Paula, as well as the runners who are running in next year's London Marathon, listening to that sort of advice. It's great that you feel as though there's exactly the same thing going on between the mass participants who are enjoying their marathons and these international athletes who are professional marathon runners.
So the lead for Ali Dixon currently at 22 seconds at 5k. Paula alluded to that quickest 5k of 17:36, just a tad quicker than the first 5k, which was 17:39, and that brings them back into, well, again, just inside 2:30 pace. Nothing silly, but it was certainly a quicker 5k, but not extravagant. And so Ali, that's why she has that lead. Just the others didn't fancy moving along yet. Although, as I said, I do think they're just starting to warm up a little bit in that pack. A lot of runners in there. Amy Cragg's just moved closer to the front of that, the American. There's Ali just grabbing her own drink next to the Union Jack. All of the other flags there. Well, that's one good thing when you're out in lead on your own. It's pretty easy to go and find your drink, isn't it? No problems there. The others are going to have to keep their eye open and see how a bit of pace comes on when you approach a water station, just to spread out a bit, avoid the hustle and bustle, and make sure you grab your drink. The only thing about putting a bit of pace on when you grab your drink, you've got to grab it. managed to do that okay.
And there's a technique to handing it out as well. I mean, you'll see that obviously all of the tables had the flags for the countries there, and the athletes will have been able to study that before the race. They'll know what number table their drink is and their country's bottles are. And then if it's still as it was when I used to run them, you have a choice. You can either hand the bottles, a team official can hand the bottles, or you can pick it up from the table. Most athletes will prefer to pick it up from the table, as Ali did, because the risk if someone inexperienced is holding the bottle is their hand is blocking the bottle as you run into it, and your momentum will cause the bottle to tip and the bottle will get dropped. So the easiest way is for someone to either hold it flat on their hand or just to pick it up off the table. But the hardest point is when you're in a big group like that and everybody's trying to get the bottles. You'll get inexperienced runners who will cut in and panic at the last minute, and we've seen how many times, countless times we've seen accidents. We've seen accidents with wheelchair athletes trying to get across the marathon runners to get to the tables, and we've seen problems just where it gets slippy by the tables. There's just accidents waiting to happen, and you need to stay out of trouble but make sure that you get your bottle.
That's why the organisation of the feed stations is a crucial part of the organisation of the overall event. That can affect the result. Sometimes has affected the result in the past. I remember Charlie Spedding telling me in the 1984 Olympic Games, the athletes he was running alongside, and one of them was knocking over everybody else's drink on purpose.
Should be disqualified for that. Outright disqualification. If you knock someone else's bottle on purpose. If it's accidental, no, but if it's on purpose, if you take someone else's bottle and it's on purpose, then that shouldn't be allowed, and there should be somebody watching out for that. It's as detrimental to the other runners as cutting across parts of the course. But the other thing that can happen is you can get to points and your bottle actually isn't there. I think luckily I didn't need it at the time, but in the Olympic Games in Beijing in 2008, 2 of my bottles ended up on I think it was the 25k table, and Mark Rowland was one of the coaches with the team at the time, was tasked with running down the course. So we ran down the course ahead of the women's race to get my bottle onto the right table by the time I got there.
I still got it, Mark. Good job it wasn't me. Actually, Mark wanted me to point out the other night. I'll do it when the 800s are on this evening, that he doesn't coach Amman anymore, which I think I inadvertently said the other night. He does, of course, coach Nigel Amos, who's going so well. There's semi-finals tonight, men's 800 meters. We've got the women's 100-meter final. The denouement of the heptathlon sadly looks as though maybe just too much for Katrina Johnson-Thompson to do to get into the medals. Could end up with 2 fourths today after Callum Hawkins in the men's marathon. KJT at the moment looking as though 4th might be the best that she can do. Just an update on the other British, the 2 other British athletes in this. Charlotte Purdue is at the back of this group. Can't see her in the slow motion going round, but she certainly was a little while ago. 26 seconds behind Ali. Tracy Barlow, though, was much further adrift at this early stage. 1 minute 40. So not a good day so far for Tracy Barlow. There you can see Charlotte Purdue right at the back, the diminutive figure, the blonde hair, just trying to hang on to that big group there. And this is the group with all of the main contenders in. And they, as we said earlier, about 22, 23 seconds behind Great Britain's Ali Dixon. Shura Demize, the Ethiopian, the young Ethiopian who, well, she didn't fall, she had to stop to pull her shoe back on. She's back in that group safely. And the group 30, I'm just counting them in terms of where they were on the computer, about around about 30 or so on that group. So Ali Dixon then continues serenely on her way out in front, running around about 2:29 pace at the moment, which is right on her personal best, and the crowd enjoying seeing a British vest out in front. And before everyone gets too excited, even Ali knows that barring something incredible happening here, that this race will be run or won in a time much quicker than 2:29, and they will come charging on at some point, but they'll be heading towards, when you get to halfway and the race really hasn't started yet, then there'll be few people getting a bit twitchy and thinking, come on, when are we going to get this moving, when are we going to start? And you can just see perhaps that's happening because that group is suddenly breaking up. Look at it, it's at the back, they're trailing, and then at the front, all of a sudden they're not all running in a big group. It's being stretched out a little bit as Ali Dixon is cheered on through this section, and that helps, isn't it, you know, when everybody is on your side. And let's just see where the group is and who's making the break, who's causing this group to just jostle around a little bit. Kiplagat right there in the middle, Kiprop, Hella Kiprop. And there we can see Charlotte Purdue just at the back of that group now as the Korean and athletes falling off the back as well. She's enjoying this, isn't she? You can see that, really enjoying it.
She could just be out for a regular Sunday run, couldn't she? And that's the other thing about Ali, is she's very used to just running her own pace. She'll do a lot of her long runs on her own, maybe just a bike for company with her, sometimes often her dad on the bike with her, keeping her company there. And so she knows her pace, she knows her rhythm, but she's got support this Sunday morning. She's got a little bit of distraction along the route, a little bit of a boost. She's come in with fresh legs instead of coming in at the end of a long, hard week's training. She's come in and rested, and she's excited. She was looking forward to the chance to come here and represent her country in what is a different version of the London Marathon, but it's still the London Marathon. Parts of that course where she's run so well in the past, where she's run, I think, a personal best was run in London. She came close to it in Berlin, but then she improved it in London. So she knows these streets, she knows the support, and that means a lot. And she's even got the bells ringing for her to give her a little bit of encouragement there.
Well, we shouldn't also, you know, belittle Ali's achievement in terms of where she's come from. You know, for all those club runners out there, you know, who've had careers where, or are in careers, Ali's 38 and is running the best races of her life, and she could well be running, you know, who knows what happens here today, but you know, she's wearing the vest of her country in a world championship, and for a lot of athletes that is the pinnacle of their career. She happens to be leading this race as well at this point. She happens to be trying to run at a pace where she hopes it will take her to a personal best. That's another thing to be applauded. But Ali, you know, she wouldn't have been the person who everyone would have said, oh, she'll go on and have a, you know, a great international career. But she's such a hard worker. She applies herself so well. She's really strong mentally as well, Ali, and she's had so many injury problems and ups and downs over the years as well.
Doesn't want to go through that shower, I'll tell you that. She's like getting well away from that shower, as close as possible to the barrier on the other side of the road. And I noticed some of the men doing that as well. I'm not sure it's been the most welcome addition to the course today.
Well, I think they're just starting to get moving properly here, aren't they? Hella Kiprop and Edna Kiplagat, the two-time world champion, Amy Cragg of the USA in there, as they just avoid the shower as well. The Bahrainian runners, Kiewa is in there, Chilimo is in there. Then we've got the phalanx of Ethiopian runners, Mare Debaba, Birhan Debaba, Demiza is in there as well. But Ali Dixon out on her own at the moment. And it was at its height, it was a 25-second gap. I think it's already down to about 20 seconds, and that's because this group of about 12, 15 athletes have broken away from the others, and one by one others will drop away from this pack. And that's what Ali will need to do. She'll need to find her level when they come by, and see whether or not she can stay with the group if the group is still a big group, or pick the runners that she's going to stay with, pick the little group that she stays with as it breaks up.
And that's quite a hard thing to do. I noticed as Ribera, the early leader, was caught, she quickly drifted right back through the group, and I don't think she's in these lead packs at all right now. I think that Ali will have to carefully pick. She's not obviously going to go with the lead pack when they come past her, but she will have to pick a group somewhere in amongst that, maybe around where Charlotte Purdue is, or just ahead of that, to settle down back into, and to just take a little bit of a mental breather as well, and just allow the front running to be taken over by a group in front, and she'll only just focus then on one foot in front of the other, gather herself again to be able to launch a second charge almost in the final lap of the race.
Well, let's hope she can do that. Judgment in the marathon, you were saying earlier on, making the right decisions, so important. So Ali Dixon then. Loving her time at the front of this World Marathon. It's getting a little warmer out there. As I said, the breeze quite strong as well. Kyoto with that incredible action. Those arms dropped low, hardly any arm movement at all. The Japanese runner at the front of that lead chasing group as they come through this narrow section. It's still quite a gap there. I think it's still about 20 seconds. I've just sorry, I didn't say anything. I was counting in my head. I can't do two things at once. Still about 20 seconds. I don't know why I was counting in my head. There's a clock there on the screen. I'll try that next time. But it's still, you know, it looked as though they were moving on. I don't know, a couple of minutes ago. But now that group's just holding together, and the fact that the Kenyans and Ethiopians aren't at the front of that group probably tells us that no one really is pushing on just at this point. They're just happily at the side, kind of acting as guards of honor, aren't they?
Yeah, and see, this is what I was talking about earlier. I think there's some people in that group that are not aware that Ali has gone ahead at this point. There are obviously girls that are, the likes of Amy Cragg has realised that. She's moved to the front and she's trying to get that group moving a bit, because it's a hard thing to do, is let somebody get this far up the road. No matter how confident you are you're going to catch them in the closing stages, it's very hard to let someone get this much of a lead over you. I mean, we've seen, even on the track, we've seen Mo Farah sit right at the back, but if somebody went that far off the front of the race, surely he would be reacting to go up and to cover that. And yes, there's a long way to run. Yes, we've not even hit halfway, and they're definitely starting to pick the pace up now, but mentally to sit back and allow that much of a gap to be built up when she's not running crazily fast either, it's a hard thing, and maybe even a foolish thing to do.
Well, her top position in the World Half Marathon, sorry, the World Half, she was 18th in the World Half Marathon, Ali, and of course she was the first British athlete home at the Olympic Games last year in Rio, when she finished in 28th position. And were she able to hang on to this group when it comes by? You'd think there's going to be about 20 athletes in there, and a few of them will struggle, or seem to be struggling already. Just a case of how fast they're going when they come by Ali Dixon, and how good she feels at that point.
I think the charge is on now, though, Steve. She really is enjoying this. Occasionally she's been gesturing to the crowd. She's got a little bit of a smile on her face. That doesn't do any harm. It's nice that she's able to relax. She's cornering like you said you would, Steve. A long way to give it a bit of wide berth.
Did you see that, Brendan, as you were saying that? It's the first sensible placard I've ever seen anyone holding up at a marathon. It said, pace yourself.
Well, nobody else is going to pace you in this one today. But that group, 24 athletes in that chasing group. I know you'll count them now, Steve, but I did count them before, and there are 24. And the talent is there, and you can just sense that spread across the road means that they're not doing, nobody's doing anything special. They're just lifting the pace, just gathering the pace. Oh, and another little bit of a bump and a little bit of a gesture there from behind. But pace yourself. That yellow sign is telling you everything you need to know about running a marathon. And then Ali, she's doing what Mo Farah did in the stadium the other night, just telling the crowd, give me a bit more support, cheer me up. But if she gets that extra support, which she's really enjoying, she's got to be careful that she just channels it into controlling herself rather than takes it as a bit of over exuberance and doesn't react to it and start running quicker. Because they're charging her down, look.
Yeah, I don't think they are. She is running that. Oh, it is 6:17:20. Now that is a quicker 5K. That is getting carried away a little bit there. Ali Dixon then 17:20. Well, that means if they're going to catch her, no wonder they weren't really catching her, because they would have had to go, I mean, not by some of the standards of some of these women, not super fast, but certainly quick. That's quick for Ali though, 17:20, just approaching halfway.
That is the danger, I think, when you're leading the World Championship Marathon in a team that it was an event where it was a real goal for Ali to make the team, to qualify, to come here and represent Britain, and now to be leading it with the support that she's getting. Of course, that's going to give her a little bit of a shot of adrenaline, a little bit of a boost, and it's tempering that and keeping the lid on it. She knows she's in good shape. She is, as I've said, in better shape probably than when she ran her personal best in London, so she can build on that, but doing it on your own at the front rather than following through in a race does make it a little bit tough. I mean, I would say from her training she'd be capable of running a 2:26, 2:27 in the right race, but whether she's able to do that leading it today, she does have a bike pace now.
She's got a 35-second gap there now. She's read the sign, pace yourself, so she's doing it.
And I think you know, we'll see in a second, but it looks to me about 74 and a half. No, 73 and a half. Well, actually, maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, more like 74 minutes. 74:10 is going to be the halfway point for Ali Dixon. So that's 2:28:20, 2:28:30. So you can't say it's just that 5K, because we did have a slow 5K in there that is a bit of a concern. But anyway, they've decided enough is enough. They've heard Brendan. He said 30-odd seconds. That's too much for anyone's liking at this stage. Almost approaching halfway in the marathon. And Hella Kiprop, Eunice Kiowa, Mare De Barber, Amy Cragg, Edna Kiplagat, Mergia up there as well. 4 Ethiopians. So the chase is now on, and you can see what that's done to the rest of the group. They're all being left and a long trail behind as the main names gather in that much smaller group now of about 10 athletes, maybe 12.
And they won't be worried. Paula, if you'd be, this race is in your time, you were in that chasing group, you wouldn't be worried, would you?
Honestly, I wouldn't be in that chasing group. I'd be up on Ali's shoulder. I wouldn't have been able to let someone go that far ahead up the road when they weren't running at a stupid pace, when they're running at a sensible pace and they've gone that far ahead. I'm sorry, I would have covered it.
Yeah, but if you'd covered it, so would they have covered it.
No, that's true.
No, they're not. Look, no one's saying that Ali Dixon's going to win this World Half Marathon at all. We know where the good athletes, in terms of the times that they can run, they're in this group here, and they can speed up to such an extent that they can run a very, very fast second half of the race. And they know that, and they understand that. And yes, 30 seconds. I mean, you can make 30 seconds up in the last 2 miles. You know, we saw that in the men's race. We're hoping that Ali's not going to fall apart. Ali's a strong athlete, and she's strong mentally. But Ali's just trying to run her own race here, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if she can keep this going, and she ends up with a top 20 finish, and she ends up with a personal best, then well done to her, because she's just decided, I'm going to go and enjoy this. I'm going to go and run my race. And she's down at the tower now. She sees 2 laps to go. The halfway point just about to be reached, a few seconds outside what we said. There's the sign saying halfway. There's the time, 74:21. She's just on personal best time, heading for something under 2:29 if she can maintain it. And for the first time, she gets a really good look at that chasing group behind. And she'll be buoyed by the fact that it's a smaller group than the last time she saw it. Buoyed by the fact that as she heads in the other direction, she'll be able to see all of the other athletes who are finding the change in pace that this group have engaged into too much for them, and that means they're running slower than Ali Dixon as well. So, long way to go. The chase on. Britain's Ali Dixon out in front. For how much longer, though? Charlotte Purdue, 50 seconds behind Ali Dixon, so she's about 15 seconds. Here she comes, just turning round. Actually, that was the halfway point with Tracy Barlow, we think is a further 3 minutes behind. That was at the 20k point. That was Charlie just going through the halfway point, which is just 1.1 kilometre on from the 20k.
I've just had a report from out on the course that it is actually breezier than it looks out there. The wind is picking up a little bit. I think, as we said earlier on, it has had a tendency over the last couple of days to pick up a fair bit in the afternoon. It is a fairly sheltered course, but there are points, particularly the long stretches along the river. I'm not sure if we can get an indication from the trees or any flags out there which way the wind is blowing, but the nature of this course means that for good fair stretches of the course they will be running into a headwind for parts of that, and that of course makes it harder if you're out on your own like Ali is, and maybe conducive to the fact that the group have stayed together and have stayed back in that pack.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is pretty breezy. This section here is you can see the trees aren't moving so much, but certainly up by Tower Bridge there they were, and I think further along the embankment they are. I think it was a westerly, wasn't it? Anyone watch the weather forecast today? I think it was a westerly, which would mean it would be into their faces. What's Paula looking at? She's trying to look.
I'm just saying I've been in here all day. I didn't watch the weather forecast.
Right. Okay. So it may well be into the face along the embankment, although it does kind of curve and change direction. But Chelimo and then the Commonwealth champion Danielle, again as they approach a water station, all looking for their own drinks, clearing out once they've got them. I'm not sure if Danielle got hers. Kiprop looking for hers now. See, Danielle didn't get hers. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Kiprop did get hers. Kiplagat a little further back, happened to drop back so to make sure she could grab hers. But the Commonwealth champion didn't look as though she did, and in fact once more at the front, almost going back there. Was that her going back for some water? So this group's really breaking up now as the chase is on, and it's that acceleration of pace as the Commonwealth bronze medalist Jess Trengrove there just trying to hang on to this group, but it's getting smaller and smaller all the time as they try to chase down Great Britain's Ali Dixon. So the lead that she had was 32 seconds at the halfway point. I suspect but the next checkpoint that'll be down to probably something like 10, maybe 15 seconds or something. They won't catch it all up in 5K. That's 30 seconds, and if Ali keeps running reasonably strongly. There you can see though that it's a foreshortening on the camera that Ali's action won't change very much. Almost a perfect marathon running action, isn't it? There's not much knee lift there, there's not much waste of energy. Diminutive figure, she just keeps churning along.
What do they call it? Shuffle for the marathon, don't they? I remember someone saying, well, you shuffle, and I took it as a bit of an insult. But
Dick used to
it
do
basically
that,
means not too much, not coming up too high off the ground, not losing too much energy. I mean, Ali is a little bit inefficient the way that her leg flicks out to the side. She knows that. It means that she's slightly more prone to lower leg ankle injuries when she's up in the training, but she works on that as well. And as we said earlier, to work on changing your form too much when it's the way that you've always run, and when you're 38 years old and you're running faster than you have done before, to waste too much energy working on trying to change it is not a good thing either. But I know that she's happy with the way that her plan is coming together around her training, the way that she works in the gym, and everything around that, because it is important. Often people say, well, marathon runners don't ever go into the gym. They do quite a bit. Ali does a lot of work in the weights gym with squats and things like that, just keeping core strength together and keeping muscle mass up, because your muscles are where you store the glycogen that you're going to need in the closing 10 kilometers of any marathon, and where you're able to put those stores away to rely on in those stages.
Well, there are 12 athletes in that chasing group. Ali Dixon still in front, and she'll just keep doing what she's doing for as long as she can do it, as long as it keeps her out there, and even when they come past, she'll be hoping she can latch on to some of those who'll then be at the back of that group. But for the time being, the crowd are loving this as well. It's great that they can come out on the street. They've chased Callum Hawkins to a brilliant 4th position. At the moment, they're enjoying cheering, excuse me, Ali Dixon out there in front, and we're 1 hour 20 into this marathon.
And the skyline of London changing all the time, new buildings being added to the fantastic site you see there. And London coming to a standstill today for the World Championship Marathon. Men this morning, and the women pride of place this afternoon. And past the halfway point, Britain's Ali Dixon leading the marathon, and the more favoured athletes from Ethiopia, from Kenya, from a couple of Kenyan athletes who've recently transferred to Bahrain in that group, some talent in that group, and the chase is being led by the very experienced former London Marathon winner, former world champion Edna Kiplagat. And you can see by the way the gaps are opening, and by the way the group is whittled down in numbers, that they're now in serious pursuit of the long-time leader. The last time we looked, she had a 35-second lead. I think that's falling now.
Amy Cragg looking very good in that group, who's 9th in Rio. Great performance. All of the Americans ran well in Rio de Janeiro. And Amy just tucked in there amongst the Kenyans as they go under the bridge. And I think her teammate is still in there as well, Paula at the back. She looked as though she was just getting dropped there and just managed to tag into the back of that group of 10 now. And they're getting ever closer to Ali Dixon. She'll know that, though. I mean, she would have been waiting for this to happen. It's not as though she didn't expect she's going to hang out there in front until the end. So she'll know it's going to happen. It's just what mindset she can keep and stick to a task. And if that group that passes her isn't very big when it passes her, and she lets the main ones go, then just, you know, find the one, whether it's one of the Americans or somebody to work with it heading into the last lap. Still got a long way to go, though. They're not yet past 25k.
Yeah, she will be totally expecting them to catch her, and she will have run through in her mind. She probably wasn't expecting, oh, she almost certainly wasn't expecting to get this far into the race and to still be leading by this much. But absolutely right, I think she will just latch on as best as she can to people in the group, and to maintain her pace and maintain her rhythm. She hates running hills, actually, so she will have found that drag out of there. The toughest part of the course, but she's got used to it now. She knows that when she gets to the top, she can grab some water, take a little bit of a breather, probably get some information from friends and family and supporters out on the course about just how far behind they are. That group lead now saying 27 seconds. It looks less than that from here at this point, but it may be the long lens shortening it.
Yes, 16 seconds I made that. Just picked the mark on the road as they went past. 16 seconds. So even from when the computer would have taken a measure maybe a minute or so ago, that gap's closing quite quickly.
Well, she's running almost on a personal best pace, and that, I think that means that she hasn't been over exuberant. She hasn't been pushing it too hard. She shouldn't crumble when they come past her. She should be able to keep maintaining this pace. And if she is able to run anything like a personal best, then you've got to say she's acquitted herself extremely well. But they're just rolling down the road here. It looks like an attack, really, doesn't it? Look the way they're just powering down. Relentless now. They know they've got a bit of business to do to take up the lead position, and they're doing it. They're doing it yard by yard. You can hear them, you can see them coming. She'll be able to hear them in a moment, and I hope you're right, Steve and Paula, that she's going to be rehearsing in her mind, because you've got to be careful. You can't be running here thinking I'm winning and then have the group catch you and then say, oh, I'm losing now. You have to just balance it. You have to just be sure that you know what's happening to yourself, but you also know when they come past, you just have to try and latch on to one of these runners.
So 16 seconds her lead at the moment as she moves further along the embankment. The next time they come along here will be for the last time. This is the third lap of 4. Maybe a little breezy in this direction, who knows, maybe not too much movement in the trees there. So Amy Cragg alongside the two-time world champion. We've got the defending champions still in there, Steve says. Yes, she is. Suddenly had a little panic there as Ali has another look at her watch. Well, it's great to have that support. When you're at home, everybody knows your name. And a lot of, I'm sure, club runners out there on the roads today, the free ticket for these games, and enjoying seeing Ali Dixon in front. So the chase on though, that group of 12, 11 I think it might be actually. Just gradually closing in.
Just passing Cleopatra's Needle there along the embankment. And I think it's wonderful how the crowds in London have responded to this event. Men's this morning, women this afternoon, crowds out on the streets. London has loaned its streets to these great runners. They've had a free treat on the streets of this great city, which opens itself to the world every year with the London Marathon. And today, they've opened themselves to the World Championship Marathon. So you're seeing two good races for the price of none.
Well, as we zoom in on that scene and we can see that gap, I think it's still about 15 seconds or so. I mean, you know that it isn't a surge that they're doing here, because there are some athletes in this group who couldn't cope with a surge. It's just a gradual picking up of the pace rather than anyone going, right, I'm after you now, I'm off, and break that group up. So they're approaching the 25 kilometer point. I expect that in about the next, in fact there it is right there, I was going to say the next 20 seconds or so, if Ali isn't going too slow. So she's maintaining reasonable pace here. She's slowed from the previous 5k, which was to be expected. That was her quickest one of the course so far. This is going to be about 35, about 17:35, something like that. 17:33, what a guess, close. So that's good though, you know, she hasn't slowed really. She's slowed from the previous fast one, but she's still running strong, still running well. They're closing, she knows they're closing. She'll get a better look when she turns around. She doesn't need to panic. She was expecting this, she should have been ready for this, and she's just got to stick to her game plan, stick to the, keep running this pace as long as she can, and keep chasing that personal best, and hope that when this group comes past, she can just get a little bit of a lift, if you like, onto the back of that group for a while.
It's about 15 seconds now, Steve, and the inevitable is going to happen in the next couple of miles, maybe less than that. The corner is a challenge for all of these athletes. Would have been a challenge for you and I, Steve. Paula would have done it really well, but you and I would have had a hell of a job getting on that corner.
I wouldn't. I hated doing sharp turns like that. Ali actually does it. She does it very well, but in fairness, and I'm allowed to say this because she'll let me off, but her centre of gravity is nearer to the ground, so she can get around that more efficiently. Those are actually the Vaporfly 4% that she's running in. The shoe with the controversial, is it? Can we say controversial? But it has the carbon fibre plate, which basically just helps you to run a little bit more efficiently. Doesn't do the running for you and doesn't make you run 4% quicker. It does just make you that little bit more efficient, as I think the progression of technology in so many of the running shoes have done.
Well, if you didn't recognise the shoes, you recognise Ali's tan line as well as it pans up. And she's been in Font-Romeu, where the weather's been pretty good. In fact,
yeah, the weather's been good. She doesn't train in knicker shorts all the time. You only race in those. And in fairness, she would say she's probably had better things to prepare in the run-up for this race than putting the fake tan on to cover up the fake. To cover up the tan line. She's not worried about that right now. She's worried about sticking to her pace and making sure that everything that she could prepare coming into this race, she prepared as well as possible.
And avoid the shower, and she's still encouraging the crowd. To me though, that's good. I mean, she's enjoying this. She knows she's not going to win this, but she's just enjoying it. And it means to me that she's not struggling. She's still, you know, she's relaxed in her running. She's running hard still. She knows they're coming. She knows they're going to catch her up, but she's in a good place at the moment, and you know, hats off to her. She's enjoying every single moment of this. She knows the lead isn't going to last much longer, so she's milking the crowd while she can.
And if she runs as well as she might here, and I don't mean that in finishing on the rostrum, but if she runs as well as she might, she'll have a great video for her collection. She's been a good international athlete. She's progressed well in the last few years. She's had some great support, particularly from you two, and I think she's benefited from that hugely. She's a serious distance runner. She's had a good career, and she's enjoying the moment in the spotlight, and she's relaxed enough to be encouraging the crowd without being too concerned about the chase and the caliber of the athletes in that chasing group, who've halved the gap in the last couple of miles. And I would guess, I'd love to be completely wrong, but I would guess they'll do it in the next mile.
Well, let's just remind ourselves about that group. There are 3 athletes who've run under the magical 2:20 mark. You've got 2-time world champion in Edna Kiplagat. You've got the defending champion Maria De Barber. You've got winners from London, from Dubai, from Boston. The Olympic silver medalist, although some say she should be the rightful gold medalist. Sum Gong subsequently failing test, who won in Rio. And so the caliber is there. Add into that 2 good Americans right there. Amy Craig's been looking very relaxed all the way through this, and she's enjoying her run at the moment. Then you look at some of the younger Ethiopian talent. Demise, she's in that group as well. And Mergia, Commonwealth champion. Danielle is still in there as well. So marathon winners in there. I always look for marathon winners, I think it's always an important thing. Have you won marathons? Do you know how to win a marathon? Because it's not about fast times, particularly obviously not in championships. And judging the effort, knowing when to go, when to cover the moves, as you were talking about earlier on, when to hold back, time your effort right, very important. So Ali Dixon, great job so far, and giving the crowd something to cheer, and certainly enjoying it. That lead now about 11 seconds. Edna Kiplagat finally looks as though she wants to think about putting the first little test into this group, because that's what you have to start thinking about now. It's not Ali Dixon in front. It's looking around in this group. Where's the danger? Who are the people I want to test? Who are the people? Have I got a sense that 1 or 2 are struggling? What if I put it on a bit of a burst now? I know I've got more to come, but let's just see if we can shake this group up a little bit.
Jessica Trengrove of Australia still on the back of that lead group, just holding on to the back of that group. A couple of times she's looked as though she might have been getting detached, and she's got herself back onto there. Amy Craig is looking very good at the front. A good section of this course where they go around St. Paul's actually goes around the USA team hotel, where the USA team are based for these championships, so she will get some good support, I would imagine, as they go around that hotel. I have heard her husband, Alistair Cragg, actually shouting out a couple of times on some of the quieter sections of the course, so she will be getting some good support. Serena Burler also on the back of that group, and probably Serena is somebody that maybe Ali Dixon might think that she would be able to hang on to and to run with as this group catches her.
Yeah, she was 10th in Beijing 2 years ago, Burler. So, you know, that's a good measure, isn't it? You know, I mean, Beijing was difficult conditions and a bit of an odd race. It was a great race in the end, wasn't it? Just a second between. There was 3 or 4 of them. I can't think. 4 of them, I think it was, weren't they, coming towards the stadium? But Maria De Barber ended up winning on that occasion. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Trengrove, you know, she's a good Australian athlete, Commonwealth bronze medalist. And if Ali Dixon does go to the Commonwealth Games, the Kenyans will be there again, and some of the other Tanzanians and Ugandans, etc. But that's where you measure yourself, I think. You know, no one's saying she should be beating the Kenyans and Ethiopians, but wouldn't she like to be up there with the best of the Americans? And so far, she's doing a great job.
And even to be able to run with some of the Japanese athletes. That's the top Japanese athlete, I think, in the race, falling off the back of that chase group. Incidentally, on the Japanese commentating team for this marathon is Nako Takahashi, who's the Olympic women's champion from Sydney in 2000. And when I asked her about her picks for the race here today, she suggested, oh, it's very close. It's going to be a very close race. She was being very non-committal.
Good luck with her broadcasting career. Actually, no, that's pretty good. That actually is what you do, isn't it? You just yell. Very close. And then after it to CC. Told you. Can't go wrong. Well, Ali Dixon, still a smile on her face here. She's now got a lead of about 8 seconds to this group, which contains the world champions, Olympic medalists, Commonwealth champions, Commonwealth medalists, and Kyoto just getting on the back again of that group. Maybe they're just gathering themselves a little bit as they see themselves getting closer to Ali Dixon. I'm just surprised that, you know, we're heading into the last 15k here, that there hasn't been more of a move to break this up. You know, this pace for most of this group is slow. Let's face it. For Ali, it's right on personal best, but for most of them, this is slow pace. And someone's got to think, well, hang on a minute. I'd be better off to, you know, I'm not going to wait until the last 5k here, even the last 10k. But so far, they all seem to have the same game plan. Or they're all not feeling so good.
Or any moment now, somebody is going to go very hard and really shatter this race. And it'll probably send people almost in all directions, because some will not know what to do, some will be able to stick to their own race plan and their own race pace and continue maintaining that. Maybe that's going to happen, but it is strange that so many people of such a good caliber in that pack, and nobody as yet cracked and thought, I'm just going to wind it up a little bit, not even to make a significant move, but just to lift the pace enough to shake another 3 or 4 people off the back of that group.
It very much is a tactical race, isn't it, this one? They're going to get to the lead together. When they catch Ali Dixon, which will be pretty shortly, then it's about putting themselves in a position to try and win this race. As they go through the twists and turns here of the city part, and Ali Dixon's done well here. She really has done well, and she's doing it properly. She's doing it the way you should do it. You know, she's doing it to the level of her ability. She knows these have got better credentials than she has. She's run it sensibly in terms of pace. She's run it solidly. She's had a few times when she's encouraged the crowd to support her, and she's benefited from that. But now they're getting ready. Kip Lagat is getting ready. Debaba is getting ready. And they, as they line up across the road, Kirwa and Chalimo, as they line up across the road, you can sense, you know, get the drinks on board, get the right timing. A wonderful sight overlooking that gap there, certainly not 27 seconds, but they're coming into this wonderful part of this wonderful city. When we pan out, we'll see St Paul's Cathedral, the skyline of London, Paternoster Square as they go past it. Crowd supporting Ali. Now she's trying to cool herself down, being hunted down by this pack of championship winners, championship runners, championship medalists, and fast marathon runners.
I was just thinking, you know, when you run through in your mind the different scenarios that can happen on race day, and especially in the marathon. I think in any race, when you come into it, you can't just have one plan. You've got to have a number of different plans of the way that the race is going to pan out and be able to react to those. But I guarantee you that this probably wasn't in any of Ali's race plans coming into this, other than that I'm just going to try and run my pace, and I'm going to run hard, and I'm going to try and run a personal best out there. She would not have been expecting to be leading the World Championship marathon to this point in the race.
And the other runners around would not have rehearsed the fact that we have Britain's #1 marathon runner leading us for 35k, 30k in the marathon, and then we're going to catch her on the paved streets near the Guildhall in London. Another good corner by Ali. She's definitely not got worse at that, Steve.
Yeah, I think she's better than the rest there, just holding them off around the corner there. Well, this is the bit that's going to be hard for Ali. They're going to come past now, and I just wonder, look at, are they just gathering a little bit? Oh, it's just the shower. They all want to move out the way of the shower. Just gathering a little bit. Nobody wants to become the leader. Of course, Ali's been the leader. Now the question is, who's going to be the leader? 25k, Charlotte Purdude moved up to 21st position, just over a minute behind Ali Dixon. So Charlie going well also, but Tracy Barlow, I have to say, we haven't had a report for her crossing at 25k, but we'll keep an eye on that. Would have expected her to have done that. She did reach halfway at 78 minutes essentially, so 2:36 pace. So Ali Dixon then, for a long time, has been out there on her own, has now got company for the first time since about the 10th kilometre. So she's run about 20 kilometres, about half of this race on her own. And the crowd's still cheering her. This is good though, it's, you know, at least it didn't come surging past. Gives her a chance to readjust, and she thinks, I'm off again if you're not going to come past. I'm loving this. You know, on her behalf, I'm really enjoying this, and hats off to her.
Where's she from, Steve?
In case you weren't tuned in earlier on, Ali's a Sunderland stroller, and she's enjoyed her stroll through the streets today. And who knows what position she ends up with, but it will have given her some nice memories. And I do hope she's rewarded with close to a personal best, if not a personal best, because that's the least she deserves for at least running her own race. Didn't matter what anyone else was going to do, she was going to run her own race. And look at this, she's got new energy. She's like feeding off those around her. She's going the wrong way, but that's okay. Now turning left, that's it. It's because the bike was peeling off, wasn't it? That's they were heading off in the other direction. She nearly followed the lead bike.
That's what.
She's only been around here 3 times.
I know, but when you do get fatigued and you're concentrating on for so long in this race, Ali probably has been focused either on that blue line or on the bike in front of her. And so she maybe just stayed focused to that. But I think it also illustrates just how much of a boost the home support can give you. And I don't think you can quantify that. You can't quantify what it means to a British athlete to compete inside the London Stadium and to have the support of the crowd, or to compete on the streets of London and have that crowd fully behind you. And it just showed as the pack came up, she was probably expecting them to sweep past her, and they didn't. And the crowd was particularly thick at that point, gave her a big cheer, and she just picked it up again. I just hope that she hasn't gone a little bit too soon with that second surge.
A lot of good manners out there.
They may just also be approaching a drink station. That may be why they're jostling for a position, or one of those sharp turns, and they're trying to get there. But certainly Demisa, yeah, it is a drink station. They come into the drink station now. They're all just spreading out to try and get a clear view of the tables and where their bottles are. And this is also often a good time if you're going to strike, then strike now, as people are concentrating on trying to get their drinks. I think that was Danielle dropped her bottle again, didn't she? So she's not done very well at all in getting hold of her bottles and getting the fluids and drinks into her in this race. She may be used to that as well, and she may also take advantage of the fact that she's teammates in that group who may take their drink and then pass their bottles over to her for her to use.
But that's an important one, isn't it, with 10k to go, Paula?
But she missed it last time
Yeah,
as well.
It's more that it's the accumulation. I think any time you come into a marathon and you miss one bottle, you kind of expect that goes with the territory. There might be one bottle that you miss, and not to panic, not to let that ruin your whole race in worrying about having missed that bottle. But when you miss 2 in a row at crucial points towards the end of the race, then yes, that is significant. And if she hasn't been able to at least take on water or be able to get some of the drink from another competitor, then that puts her at a little bit of a disadvantage. But certainly that group now has broken up as they've gone through that drink station. Some of that is them just taking the time to find their bottle and to drink it and to run with it for a while. But we can see now for the first time there's big gaps opened up at the back, and Ali Dixon has dropped out of that lead group.
Yes, for the first time, Ali Dixon not in the lead group per se. She's 2-3 seconds adrift there. Kyoto of Japan, the other athlete who's struggling to stay with it, as that drink station just changed the rhythm a little bit. They haven't really started to run too fast yet, but it just got them moving as they jostled for position. And now as they come out of the shadows of the bridge crag once more, as they spread across the road again, slow again, Ali Dixon just tucks into the back of them again. Then nobody wanting to make a move here, so there's nobody feeling super confident, or maybe feeling so confident about their ability in the last 5K that they're just waiting. I cannot believe that they all think the same, though.
No, they may be watching each other as well. I mean, often when Edna Kiplagat is at her best, she can really wind it up. In the last couple of kilometers in a marathon, we saw her do it in Moscow, didn't we? And she can really do damage. Not particularly fast if you put her straight into a 5-kilometer race somewhere, but at the end of the marathon, when it involves changing pace and getting your legs turning over at a quicker speed, she is able to do a lot of damage. So they may be looking and expecting something like that to happen, but we don't know if she's in the shape that she's been in previous years.
This looks like a heroic performance by Ali Dixon, you know. She's still in contention here. Nearly 2 hours on the clock. And there's the wonderful sight. Shadow of St. Paul's Cathedral as they come along. As we close in there, we've got a group of athletes who are running a tactical marathon. Well, they're looking at it. Who's going to watch who? Who's going to know? Who's going to move first? Crowds are anticipating it, and here they come. Cragg from America, Trengrove from Australia, one of the athletes from North Korea in that group too. The 2 athletes representing Bahrain are in there as well, and they're not running exceptionally quickly yet, but you know there's still 10 kilometers to go.
So Amy Cragg of the USA with Ali Dixon of Great Britain at the back of the group. Between the American and the British athlete, a whole host of talented marathon winning, medal winning, championship winning athletes. Mare Dibaba, just the smallest of the Ethiopian athletes, just right on the left of the picture as you look there. Edna Kiplagat, the taller of the Kenyan athletes, to the right as you look. They have won the last 3 world titles between the 2 of them. Will it be one of those 2 to continue? Can Dibaba do what Edna Kiplagat did and defend her title here? What about the likes of Trengrove and Amy Cragg? Neither of them would have been tipped to win a medal. Amy Cragg, certainly Americans had high hopes for her to come and reproduce the sort of performance she gave in Rio, and she's doing that here. 15 athletes still involved. Kim from Korea right in the middle of the group there. Kiewa on the outside. Eunice Kiewa, the Olympic silver medalist, still involved. Hella Kiprop, not the quickest finisher, we know that. Hella Kiprop probably thinking, yep, I've got to do something here. But so far, nobody wanting to do anything. Demise, whose shoe came off in the early stages, the Ethiopian in just alongside Cragg, is looking comfortable enough. But to be fair, nobody looks in that group as though they're really struggling. Probably Ali Dixon's the one who's having to work hardest to stay with it, given that she wouldn't expect really to be belonging in this group, as Brendan was saying, 2 hours into the World Marathon. So not much more running left, but probably a half hour or so.
But the thing is, you know, the marathon is a true test of endurance, but a lot of these marathon runners can run 2 hours 28, 2 hours 30 comfortably without too much stress. And now maybe the tactics in the marathon in this one are going to change a little, because you can win a race like this in the last 400 meters. You don't have to win it 6 miles to go or 3 miles to go. You can win it. And there's Ali Dixon back in the leading group, back in the lead actually. That's because no one wants to make a long run for home, and some of them have got the ability, and some of them have got the confidence to leave it to the last 400 meters. And so we're looking at a slightly different approach here today. Nobody's got the confidence to try and run away from it yet. And Trengrove from Australia, the Commonwealth Games medalist in the marathon in 2014 in Glasgow, in those great games that we had a couple of years ago. And she's now finds herself in the lead, stretching the pace. Ali Dixon just struggling at the back of that group now. The pace has started to increase, and it's Trengrove from Australia doing it. The rest of them biding their time.
Well, I'm amazed that nothing's happened here. There's too many people. There are too many very good athletes in this group still, as they again look for water in these latter stages. As I said, still half an hour of running. It's not a lot, you know, when you've been out there for 2.5 hours, but so much can happen here. And Bren's right, we could end up with a sprint finish up Tower Bridge. Nobody really wanted to force this on. Nobody wanting to be the first to make a move. Now, I don't know how many quotes I've read in sport. It was to never be the first to make the move. The one who often makes the move first is not the one who wins. Except Paula's looking at me saying, "Hang on, I used to do that."
No,
I'm on about
just
in a
thinking
situation like
unless
this.
it's the winning move.
No, I mean in a situation like this, it's a bit like when you're on the track sometimes. You know, it's just you want someone else to work off. You want somebody else to break it up, and you just tuck in, let them do the hard work, let them break it all up. A bit like in cycling, you always see the same thing then, and time your effort. And we're almost getting down to that sort of situation here, as for the first time, Ali Dixon becomes properly detached from the group.
Yeah, she's looking in a little bit of a distress now. You can see, well, it wasn't a big change in her running style, but certainly the knee lift is a little bit less now, and she looks as though she's struggling. You can see the grimace more on her face. I mean, she will maintain it and she will keep fighting hard to the finish, but she can see that gap in front of her growing a little bit now all the time, and that's demoralizing to see that stretching in front. What she really needs is maybe someone to catch her from behind and to be able to work with them, to be able to run alongside them for a little bit. She was able to latch onto the back of the group pack, and for a little while it looked as though it might be Kyoto, the Japanese athlete, who would drop off the back of that pack first, but it's not. It's been Ali Dixon, and she needs to keep focus now, keep focus on the bike in front of her as well. That will help. She'll see some of the turnaround points. She'll see the group come past, and she'll be able to look back behind her as well and see what the dangers are from behind her.
So all of a sudden, Ali Dixon, 8, 9, 10 seconds adrift. She's in 15th place. 14 athletes now in that group. There will be others behind chasing her down. Charlotte Purdue was only a minute or so behind at the start of that last lap. And at the very least, there'll be a little British battle to see who comes in first. So we're left with this group here. Still no major move being made. Still Amy Cragg, Trengrove of Australia. They're sort of drifting along, aren't they? You know, and every kilometre that goes by, the tension just builds a little in that group. And coming back to what I was saying 15-20 minutes ago about when they turn back and then they get into that twisting, turning section with sort of 5K to go, that's going to be interesting, really interesting to see who negotiates those twists and turns better than others. As you were saying, Paula, some are better than others. I just wonder whether someone's going to wait until then.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that now is maybe the next likely place for a big move to be made as they negotiate through that section to try and just accelerate a little bit more out of those turns and into the turns, to be able to just create a few gaps as you go through that area. A little bit like if masses are used to running the London Marathon, a little bit like the Cutty Sark area. It's much earlier in the race, but that kind of twisting and turning and curve section means that sometimes you can just build up a little bit of pace, break it up a little bit in your mind, and just give yourself a different mental focus. I mean, these athletes have run now, they're on their 4th lap, so they know this course well. They've had the chance to study it out, to see how they feel, to work out the best lines there, and to be able to use those now and to use them to the best effect.
Sometimes athletes think there's safety in numbers. They're slowing down there. You can just sense that. In this group, there's 1 or 2 athletes thinking, oh, I think I can make a sprint of it. I think I can win it in a sprint finish. Nobody's making a long, hard move for it. And Paula Radcliffe, who won this race in 2005, you know, championship record time of 2 hours 20. Well, we're privileged to be sitting next to Paula all day today, but I know what you're thinking now. If you'd been in this race, there's only one place you'd be now, wouldn't there?
She wouldn't be there.
She'd be down the road.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't be sitting in a group of just happily rolling along, would you?
No, I think I would have gone when Ali went, and I would have run with Ali for a little bit, and then I would have pushed on from there. But it's different. It's different racing. I think you adapt to the circumstances at the time and to the shape that you're in. I'd love to be in the shape to be able to be running along with them now.
I just come back to what Brendan was saying, and I do love the psychology of sports, psychology of running, in the sense that, you know, you can look at this 2 ways. You can look at, as I said before, whether there's supreme confidence in my ability to run fast in the last couple of kilometres. I'll come back to what Brendan was saying, this idea that the collective responsibility being shared here as Amy Cragg completely gets that corner wrong. Goodness me. But you know, this idea that I'm happy in this group. You know, I feel comfortable and secure, and I don't want to break out of it. I'm not sure, and that to me is the lack of confidence. So there's two things going on here. There's some athletes in this are not confident, and they're just happy still to be there, and there are others who are supremely confident in what's to come, and they're both going to be wrong.
Well, actually, when I was talking to Mo the other morning after he won the 10,000 the night before, and there were a lot of athletes, just like there is today, a lot of athletes. And I said to him, were you worried at any point? He said, no, I was just looking them up, counting them off, thinking he can't beat me on the last lap, he can't beat me on the last lap, they can't either, he's not strong enough, he's not going to the front. And he said he'd worked it out, that he never was under pressure. But Amy Cragg now is making the first attempt to try and win this one. She's now working hard, she's striding out, she's working as though she wants, this is her effort. Now, you said earlier, Steve, if you go first, unless it's a positive, confident, winning attack, that's the wrong way to be. And quickly, she's got 1 or 2 for company. So they're putting her under pressure.
But she's asking the first question, and she's laying the first ride out. As you're in the Tour de France, you have the guys who go and hit the front for you, don't you, and get it strung out. Well, she's doing it for herself here, and it was just interesting for me when she did do it, although this is a few minutes earlier in the Kiplagat, that Kiplagat didn't react that quickly, Kiprop didn't react that quickly. They probably did what Mo Farah, you were saying Mo Farah doing, thinking, I don't think Amy Cragg can run away from me, you know, so I'm not going to panic here. Whether they're right or wrong will remains to be seen. This was the corner. Look how wide Amy Cragg ends up going. This is going to take a while, isn't it? This is real super slow-mo. Watch. Trengrove takes the tight line. Amy Cragg's off down towards Westminster somewhere.
See, that was what I was talking about earlier, though, when it's very hard to turn that sharp a corner when you're tired.
So here we go, Kiplagat struggling with this, and it's breaking them up. Amy Cragg, despite that corner, maybe she was lulling them into a false sense of security there, and all of a sudden it all breaks up. Kim, Kyoto, Trengrove, the other American, Berla, all now feeling the heat. I think that's Mergia at the back there. So they're going to try and gather again. In fact, they already have done. Look at that. But I think for me, Kiplagat didn't look good, didn't respond well enough for me when that move was made. The 37-year-old, the winner in Boston. She won Boston by nearly a minute this year in 2:21. You know, good shape, but she just might not be able to cope with this big surge that's on. So Amy Cragg, Chalimo covered it pretty well. De Barber definitely covered it. The smaller of the Ethiopians over on the far side. Demise right in the middle, she covered it pretty well. And now Kiplagat getting back involved. Kiprot closest to us as well, and Kiowa on the far side. But Edna Kiplagat may be just working a bit harder than she'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long time to maintain form at the top of international women's marathon running. The amount of time that Edna Kiplagat has been at the top of her game, and championship racing as well, to get ready in the summer when you've had to get ready for a peak early on, maybe in, I don't know, she did race in April, didn't she? So in April time, to get ready for the Boston Marathon, I think she ran in April, and then to come back for this, and then to maybe even start thinking about whether you're going to race an autumn marathon. None of these athletes will be thinking about that now. They will be focused on this, but to keep recovering between those marathons and to keep coming back and racing at the top end in tactical marathons is hard, because it's one thing to be able to run close to fast times in even paced races, but to run as quickly as they're going to pick it up now in the closing stages of this race, that's going to be hard for Edna Kiplagat. She is capable of doing it.
And now it's down to 9. Amy Cragg of the United States, accompanied by the inevitable 3 athletes representing Kenya, 3 athletes representing Ethiopia, and 2 athletes representing Bahrain, who are born in Kenya. So nothing new here. Where's the winner going to come from? You wouldn't like to bet, but you know my old rule, Steve, is if you've got a couple of Ethiopians in a sprint finish, the Ethiopian beats the Kenyan.
Well, that was the case in Beijing. in 2015. Mare de Barber, the smallest of this group. There she is in 4th place, being led out by Chelimo, who was second to Kiplagat in that Boston Marathon back in April. Then Amy Cragg running a brilliant race. She's going to at least emulate what she did in Rio, where she was 9th in the Olympic Games, in the top 9 here. Only 9 left, and that's being whittled down as we speak. Kiowa, de Barber up there, Kiplagat trying to hang on, Demise trying to go with this as well, but look at it. It's all just being stretched out a little bit. Hella Kiprop struggling now, and they haven't reached the point where we were talking about, where we start to get those turns and twists. And I think that, as Paula was saying earlier, would be a great place, wouldn't it, to put another bit of pressure on. If Amy Cragg was able to, she might just get rid of another 2 or 3 of these.
Yes, she would. I think what happens sometimes in racing, though, is the racing itself produces the points where the breaks are going to be made. And Amy Cragg made a first surge there. She caused some damage. She asked some questions. She got rid of her own teammate, Burla. She got rid of Trengrove. She whittled that group down. And then Kerwa has taken it on from then, and she's attacked again. And now it's Amy Cragg who's struggling to be able to stay with this burst that Kerwa's pushing on. And there are more gaps opening up in there that these girls wouldn't normally be letting open up, so they may close down again, but she's certainly asking more questions. Sorry, it's not Kerwa, is it? It's Chelimo.
Well, Chelimo was only 1 place ahead of Amy Cragg in Rio last year, in 8th place, and as I said, was second to Kiplagat in Boston. Personal best set in Boston. It's not an easy course to set your personal best in, so that would have given an indication, a lead as to her sort of shape. But this is a real bold bid now. This is a bid to win this World Championship marathon. She's leaving the defending champion, the 2-time previous champion, Kiplagat, now trying to give chase. Mare de Barber looks as though she's spent already. It's Demise, the only Ethiopian left there at the moment, but Kiplagat with Amy Cragg of the USA still involved here. So Kiplagat, when she looked a little bit distressed a kilometre or so ago, now moving really nicely, moving as well as anybody. But there's lots to happen in these latter stages. Lots of changes, I'm sure, still to make. Chelimo made a big effort, but it's not going to be an easy one. It's not going to take her away to the point where she can think, yeah, I've done it, because they're closing her in again. They're stretched out now, and this is going to be a long, hard run in. And surely these positions are going to change. But look at Amy Cragg, 3rd at the moment, and moving away.
The positions will change. You can sense that already. But this is a strong run. And the first time we've seen gaps. Amy Cragg hanging on there in 3rd place and being tracked down. Now we're looking at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 athletes in a line. The medals are going to be shared out between those 6. Which order, you still wouldn't be able to say. You still wouldn't want to be able to guess.
Well, as we gather for the finish, just a quick note, Ali Dixon in 15th. We know that because that's she was in it when the group was still 15, then she was the first to fall off. But Charlotte Purdue is 1 place behind her, but 40 seconds behind as they went through 35k. But that could well be a battle that continues right to the line. 15th and 16th, the 2 British athletes, as the defending champion, Mare de Barber, navigates, that's the best I can describe it, that corner there. And then she sees the medals moving away from her. Chelimo, Bahrain, the former Kenyan, Kiplagat, Danielle, the Commonwealth champion, and Amy Cragg working hard, trying to hang with these 3 here. You just get the sense if she can stay with them, the medals are in this 4. But Cragg has got to hang in there, got to give herself a chance, got to hope that one of these, maybe Chelimo, has made her effort too soon. Kiplagat had to work hard, has a little look behind. She sees there's still any danger. Cragg's looking good and strong. Get into that group, hang in there through these twists and turns around St. Paul's, and who knows. Great Britain just missed out a medal in the men's race. 4th for Callum Hawkins. The United States, goodness me, wouldn't they love to get a medal here? What a performance that would be, because this was a very, very high quality women's field, Paula.
Well, it's a very high quality, and it's taken a long time to get going as a race, as an exciting race to watch, but it is now. The first questions were asked by Amy Cragg, and then asked again by Rose Chelimo, and they've certainly split the race apart. Amy Cragg has now got herself back into third, and you sense that that battle is going to run and run for first and second, and for third and fourth. It may change within that as well, but certainly those are the key battles. Mara Dababa just going through there. She's not having as good a run, and is not definitely in the shape that she was in 2015.
That was the champion, Mara Dababa of Ethiopia, drifting out of the first 5 or 6. The last time they run through these streets. Now we're well on the way as they come towards the Guildhall. We're well on the way to the close where they finish on Tower Bridge here. And we have an athlete born in Kenya representing Bahrain, and then we have the 2 times champion Edna Kiplagat coming around that corner. We've got Amy Cragg in 4th place, but where is the gold medal going? Bahrain, as they both avoid the spray. They're very happy about the cooling part of the spray, but they don't want to get their feet wet. Kiplagat in 2nd place, running well again. She's gone through some difficult patches. Danielle Chayek, as she's in the program, the Commonwealth champion, and then Amy Cragg in 4th place, and she's not giving up on this one. She knows there's a medal here for the taking. Can she just hang on there? Can she just stay with it? A yard or 2, just opening that little gap. Just hang on there, Amy. This is a fine run by Amy Cragg, but the Kenyan, who's a championship winner, winning that Commonwealth Games, has she got anything left?
Does Amy Cragg need to do at this point? She just needs to focus on the heels of Danielle in front of her. Just try and just keep holding on to that and keep them. She doesn't need to make any other moves. She can look ahead and see what's happening with the 2 in front. See that that gap's not significantly growing, but until she turns on to Tower Bridge, she doesn't actually need to move past Danielle unless she feels that she can chase down 1st or 2nd. But she's running for the bronze medal now. Just wait, or go back in front and just try and pull herself back towards the lead 2, who aren't moving away now. There's been a few anxious glances over the shoulders of certainly Rose Chelimo, who's been looking back. Edna Kiplagat again focusing. See, she's sticking on those heels. She's not moving in front until the closing stages of this race now. Edna Kiplagat, every time she's given the opportunity to come through and take up a bit of the work alongside Chelimo, she just tucks back in behind her.
There's no prizes for doing the hard work now. Chelimo set herself up as a target. Chelimo is trying to win this one. Kiplagat in the pole position. Amy Cragg working back into a medal position for a USA. The Commonwealth champion, as they head down another sharp turn, and at this point those 4 are going to share the 3 medals, but who's going to take which? Where's the gold going? Bahrain or Kenya? Edna Kiplagat, the experienced lady of this marathon. She's won in London before. She's won the World Championships before. She would allow herself a yard or 2 here, but she doesn't want to let it grow too much. Chelimo's attacking this one. She was 9th in the World Cross Country. She was 8th in the Olympic Games last year in Rio in the marathon. And those 2 surely are battling it out for the gold medal in the World Championship Marathon. Is it going to be a 3rd one for Edna Kiplagat?
Well, it would be a phenomenal performance, a great battle here, but for gold and silver, and also a real tussle for the bronze medal. Catherine Ndereba won 2 world titles from Kenya, Edna Kiplagat herself, but 3 would be phenomenal, particularly the age of 37. Bahrain, well, they've had 2 gold medals. Jamal won the 1500 meters in 2 consecutive years, back in 2005, 2007. That's the only medals they've won in the World Championships. Their women have won. So that now looks a tall order, though, doesn't it, all of a sudden, because Kiplagat sensing that she's got enough here. She's strong enough, feels good as they enter the last 2K. And look at Amy Cragg, and those 2 are actually catching, and Chelimo's in danger if she can't hang on to Kiplagat, have been chased down, because about 8 seconds behind her are the two of them, and when they're working together to try and tussle for the bronze, it might just take them closer to the silver medal. So Chelimo watching, I'm sure agonizingly watching, as Kiplagat opens up the gap. It turns into 10 meters, and it looked for a while as though Kiplagat was going to wait and wait. It's not going quickly though, Brent. You know, when you make a move like that and you get a gap, you want to keep building it, keep growing it until the person behind you is completely broken, but it's still staying the same. It's about 8 or 9 meters.
It's 8 or 9 meters between Kiplagat on her attempt to win a third World Championship gold medal. Chelimo attempting to win her first major championship. A wide cornering there from Edna Kiplagat, the experienced one, the one who knows how to win these races. Chelimo attempting to win for the first time. Danielle, the Commonwealth champion. Amy Cragg just lost a few yards there. She's not been so good on those twists and turns. She'll probably say afterwards she didn't like those twists and turns. But this attempt to win this race by Edna Kiplagat, has she done enough yet? Well, you wouldn't think she has. She's just got a couple of more kilometers to go. She's probably heading towards the last mile. She's got a yard or two. That yard or two grows to 3 or 4, and now to 10, 12. Now she starts to look as though Chelimo is going to settle for second. That's the secret. In her mind, has she given up on the gold medal? Edna Kiplagat is after that gold medal. The first athlete ever to win 3 gold medals in the World Championship Marathon. Female athlete to win 3 gold medals in the World Championship Marathon, if she can do it. We see the cavalcade of cars, the lead car, the photographers, the reporters, and then coming just into sight, the timekeeper, the judges, the outriders, and there the athlete from Kenya who's done this twice before. Is she going to do it for a third time? At the age of 37, on the streets of London. She's won the marathon here. She's won the World Championships before. Can she win this one?
Well, that's beginning to look like a winning margin. It's not over yet by any stretch of the imagination. Another 4, maybe 5 minutes of running, certainly at least 4 minutes of running left. And that gap is not getting any bigger. And Chelimo is not giving up on this. Kiplagat was good round those corners, definitely made it through there better, and sadly for Amy Cragg, the same can be said of Danielle. The Commonwealth champion from Kenya has opened up a similar sort of gap on Amy Cragg, and that's continuing to grow, but this one isn't. This gap is staying the same here. If anything, Chelimo has maybe taken a yard back out of her. So this is going to go all the way, this. Kiplagat will start to see the big crowds. It won't be long before she'll sense the tower. There's a bit of a rise up here as well. That could make a bit of a difference. It's a slightly uphill finish. You know, they're almost on the crest of Tower Bridge. And that can be a factor as well. And look at Amy Cragg working so hard. A look behind from Danielle. Maybe she's misjudged this. Maybe all of the medals still up for grabs here. Cragg trying her best. And the long, steady uphill climb to the finish for all of these 4. But who is going to win the medals? Who's going to get gold? Who's going to get the silver? Can Chelimo run her down here?
There's enough yards left in this marathon for Rose Chelimo from Kenya, and now representing Bahrain, to close down on our more famous and more bemedaled former countrywoman, Edna Kiplagat. And there you can see just that incline as they climb towards Tower Bridge, and that gap is closing, and Kiplagat is coming under pressure, and Chelimo's looking over her shoulder. Well, she doesn't have to look that way, she only has to look ahead, and that gap is now shrinking by the yard. Kiplagat, who's made a long run for home, I thought she'd wait a bit longer, but now where's the confidence level here? Is it with Chelimo, who's coming in? And remember, your coach told you, Steve, when you go alongside an athlete, don't look at them go straight past. She's done that. Is Kiplagat fading now? But she's now in the pole position. Now, how quickly will this gap open? Will Chelimo be able to run it from here, or is Kiplagat going to end up on her shoulder and attacking her and trying to get it? Now we've got a really exciting finish to what was a laborious race at the start. Not a fast race by any stretch of the imagination, but now building to a climax. Bahrain and Kenya.
Well, the long-time leader was Britain's Ali Dixon. I can tell you that Ali's now been passed by Charlotte Purdue further down. Purdue's now in 15th, Ali Dixon in 17th. But this is beginning to look as though it could be the reverse of what happened in Boston. These two were first and second on that occasion, but it was Edna Kiplagat who won on that day by a big margin, by almost a minute. But now it's Chelimo. Has she timed this right? The battle for bronze is still on. Amy Cragg of the USA trying to chase Danielle from Kenya, the Commonwealth champion back there. But increasingly, Chelimo sensing that this is her day. When she turns this corner, it's a sweeping bend. 400 meters to go, and surely that's it now. Edna Kiplagat with nothing else to give here. Chelimo timed it right, didn't panic when the former world champion, I should say, the two-time former world champion, went to the front. She didn't time her effort right. There is still 300 meters, maybe 250 of uphill running, but look at the scenes. Tower Bridge, resplendent in the sunshine. The crowds packed along the roads as they cheer on, and there's Amy Cragg, and there's still a battle on for that bronze and maybe even the silver yet, because Edna Kiplagat looks very tired. She may just have enough to hold up the American, but the American hasn't got that one yet. Here's the gold medalist coming in. Chelimo, Rose Chelimo of Bahrain, former Kenyan, comes in to take the world title, waving to the crowd, knows that this is a winning margin for her, enjoying every single last step of the way. It hasn't been a classic marathon. It was a game of cat and mouse for most of it, but she is the champion. Chelimo wins the gold. And look at the sprint finish from Amy Cragg. Kiplagat just hands on for the silver for Kenya, and the American gets the bronze. Amy Cragg with a superb performance. Chelimo timed it right. Bahrain's third gold medal of the World Championships over the years, as I said before, in the women's events, 2 in the 1500 meters, and now they have a marathon champion, and the USA have a bronze medalist. And look what it means to Amy Cragg. Was in the top 10 in Rio. She can hardly contain herself. Great scenes. Demise will be the best of the Ethiopians, where their challenge faded the defending champion. So she'll be pleased with the fact that she's the first home from her country. Strong performance from her. She's 5th. And now they start to come in. This is Kiowa, I think. Kiowa next across the line. And then probably Kiprop. All big names, all athletes who today, with 10 kilometers to go, would have thought, this is my day. I'm in this group. Remember we said, Brendan, a lot of those people would be wrong about how they were feeling. The ones who were super confident, the ones who maybe should have been more confident. And it was at the drink station, wasn't it, when it broke up, and then Amy Cragg really broke the group up. Mare de Barber, the defending champion, not quite in the shape she would have wanted to be in coming into this. And Jess Trengrove finishing very strongly, going to be a top 10 finish for the Australian. Well done to her. Well, Brendan, I'll bring you in now as we see them. We'll wait for Charlotte Purdue, who'll be the first of the British athletes. But as I said, not a classic marathon, a good championship marathon. Chelimo timed it well, and Amy Cragg, a fantastic bronze.
Well, the 1, 2, 3, and there's the champion, Chelimo. An exciting finish to an otherwise slow marathon in the early stages, really speeded up at the end, and Amy Cragg there, American bronze medal, and that is fantastic. American distance running receiving another fillip. We're looking at the Japanese athlete coming in. Oh, is it? No, Burla, sorry, the other American coming in. We're waiting down the road, and it looks to me as though Charlotte Purdue is going to be the first Briton. There she is behind the Ethiopian Mergia. And there, Charlotte Purdue finishing. Well done, Charlotte. She came from behind. She worked her way through. She got stronger in the late stages. And the first international championship marathon for Charlotte Purdue in 13th place. And that was really well done. As we look at the first 3, Chelimo, Kiplagat, the 2 times champion, and Amy Cragg of the United States. An exciting finish. to an exciting race. And London once again, look at the crowds there. London once again responded to a fantastic marathon.
Well, let's hope that Ali Dixon comes in okay. Kyoto looking very tired as well behind Kim. These were in that lead group at 15. But Charlotte Purdue, well done to her, well judged race. I said run her own race, she's ran 2:29.48. So she's finished so strongly. And that's just outside her personal best. There's Ali still waving to the crowd. Well, she enjoyed her time out there in front for such a long time. She's going to be just outside 2:31. High-fiving as she goes along. There won't be too many more days like this for Ali. 38. Still running strong and loving all of this today. And she certainly gave the crowd something to enjoy and cheer in the early stages. She was 2 hours in, was still in the lead group. And she's going to come in about 18th position, I think, with the two Japanese athletes just ahead of her. She's got a Union Jack. I'm sure there'll be a hug for Charlie as well. I'm sure she would have cheered her on as she went past her. That's a canny run from the lass from Sunderland. 2:31.40, and she's tired now. But I love this performance from Amy Cragg, and you know, she's probably still can't believe it. Going up to Ali, just checking she's all right. And Amy Cragg, you know, it was so many times in those last few kilometers she must have thought, I've got a chance, no I haven't, it's going away, now I'm back in it, and just stuck in. And I think that uphill finish helped. And I said, Bren, about, you know, judging your effort right, because none of them have had this finish. You know, none of them seem to quite know. Kiplagat got it wrong. Danielle got it wrong. Paula made a good point. You should always go and walk the last couple of kilometers and work out when you're going to make your effort. What's your last championship marathon, Brendan? How about that to go out on?
It was an exciting race. It was a great day in London. It's good for the spectators, kind of the runners. And once again, London responded with those numbers on the streets of London. A free show for them all, a good show for them all. And a new champion, Rose Chalimo from Bahrain.
So the official results, the winning time in the end was 2:27.11, so negative splits, although it never really got going until the last 7 or 8 kilometers. Actually comes up as a season's best. That's because the course in Boston, they don't recognize the times for Boston, but she has run quicker than that. Kiplagat similarly reversing the positions that they had in the Boston Marathon here in the World Championship Marathon. And the headlines in America will be grabbed by Amy Cragg, a bronze medal for the USA. Fantastic performance.